Hello, welcome to Layback with Betfair. I'm Tom Haylock. First episode for me for the season. It's great to be joined by Trent from Racing and Sports and the King Clancey. Start with you, Liam. How are you, mate?
Very, very well. Thanks, Tommy. It's good to have you back. It's nice to
you.
get some semblance of normalcy back on the show. Trent's been very professional. He's had to sit next to Carlos for the last 3 weeks. So it's great to have you back.
How have you coped with Carlos, Trent?
Yeah, apart from him sticking his legs out over the table and slouching all over us, you got a bit of, like you said, a bit more professionalism in the studio today. So
good.
Got that, Carl. Yeah.
Good confidence. Well, we got a cracking day of racing. Flemington and Randwick, good tracks, warm weather, both states. It's going to be a great day of racing. A couple of Group 1s at Flemington, or one Group 1 at Flemington and two Group 1s at Randwick, which I can't wait for. But as usual, we start with the Laybin. You've got nothing this week. Oh, you have? You've just got a late nomination here, Liam, for the Laybin.
A very late nomination. As a big fan of the Live Golf and what it's brought over to Adelaide, being an Adelaide boy ourselves, Tommy.
Gee, it was good.
It was fantastic, as it is every year. They just keep getting better and better. The Premier over there, Malinowski, is doing a magic job. But Bryson, he's come out and said, I want 280 mil extension or I'm not coming back. And they've said no. So devastated that we won't see him. The crowd absolutely flocked to him. So it'll be a real shame if he's not there next year. But the show will roll on. But yeah, Bryson, you can go on the Laybin this week.
So what's he doing? He's going back to PGA?
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, 12 months is a long time in this PGA versus Live debate. So, you know, whether they're all back together by then or not.
There was talks of mergers and stuff like that. Where's it at?
Well, Trumpy's pulled them all into the White House last week and said, sit down, young sons. I'll have a chat to you, but we'll who knows where it will end up once he gets his hands on them.
Wow, 280 million. He is the most popular and influential person in golf at the moment.
As he should be. He's done such a good job with his YouTube channel and a lot of engagement, young people into the sport. So he's probably one who can ask for whatever he wants because he's got so much traction on his own channels.
Yeah, massive. You've got nothing for the Laybin, Trent?
No, I'm a pretty positive guy this week. Apart from not going too well at Caulfield last week, I think just the one winner. But other than that, we'll move forward and hopefully focus on finding a few this week.
We could have talked about Caulfield and some of the ridiculously slowly run races we saw there. It was uncompetitive, so maybe that could be in the Laybin, some of those races. I don't know if we can get the footage of this, but first game of the cricket series at the moment, and Rohit Sharma in the absolute Laybin. This is probably my biggest fear in the world, dropping a hat-trick ball. He sat at first slip. He dropped an absolute sitter. If we can get the footage up, let's get it up. You don't go dropping hat-trick balls. Shane Warne did it once.
I thought you were going to say your biggest fear was having a hat-trick ball drop, but I was going to say you don't have that talent with the arm.
Not anymore. Not anymore. But I loved the ball coming to me in the field, but dropping a catch when someone's hat-trick ball was a massive fear of mine. There you go. Rohit Sharma getting the Laybin. Let's head to Flemington. Let's start with two feature races there. Great day of racing. Rail out 2 metres. Slight southerly wind, which can favour those on speed a little bit at Flemington, but I don't think it'll be strong enough to have a huge impact. How do you see the track playing?
No, pretty fair. Obviously, Flemington, everyone gets their chance. I've always found we're starting to look more and more into these wins the last probably 12 months. So sometimes you do go looking for it, but I wouldn't be expecting anything.
The jockeys go looking for it, as we saw last week. They're becoming more aware of it. And at Caulfield, with that win, they just slowed up and went very slowly. Do you see track playing well?
Yeah, I think it'll play fairly. Yeah, like you said last week, the wind kind of probably played into the heads of jockeys and punters more than it actually had an effect on. And at the end of the day, being on speed on a fast deck is going to be far more beneficial than any wind could be.
And they said the inside lanes were superior, but I just think it was because horses last week just tried to find cover. So they were naturally in the inside lanes and didn't want to come wide. But there you go. Let's head to the Group 2 Blamey Stakes, 1,600 metres cracking race. I don't know if it's a cracking race. I just said that. It's a bit of a hateful race, to be honest. There's a few hateful horses here. We all align, though, on a horse at each way odds, which is scary. It could be an absolute fill-up for us. Liam, we'll start with you, mate.
Yeah, hard to go past the trial from Plastic Carousel. Cruise Past Deny Knowledge has obviously come out and won since. And then I think if we go back, you're always going to have this in your head, but that first up performance last autumn, it was in the Randwick Stakes when it took Via Sistina and absolutely bolting in to go past her. And then Buckaroo was a short third behind, and we know how well both of those performed in the autumn and the spring. So it's an incredible rating. I've got Plastic Carousel regressing 3 lengths from that figure that day, and still comes out as a $5 shot. We're getting $7 in the marketplace. That automatically becomes an amazing bet. So that'll be my main play of the race. Nugget is one that I've found in previous
You're not
times.
tipping Nugget. This is how hateful this race is.
Yeah, exactly right. Finally comes back a few steps, gets, well, I think we're about 55 kilos. Showed a nice bit of intent in the trial, which I like to see. Finally down to those weights a bit more. The ratings in his Cremen Cup and Werribee Cup runs last prep put him right in for this. Now, that intent in the trial says that we might be able to get back to that level. Getting $9.50. I'm happy to have half a unit there, 2 units plus the carousel. And I think the final way I'll be finishing this race is just laying Stapati. Like, racing extremely well this preparation. It's been up since October. 9th run this prep. Had a tiny little, not a spell, but a little let up. But he's going to have to get back from that draw again, ride for luck. And it's not a particularly great recipe for a $4.40 favourite. So as consistent as it has been in the last few runs, I'm going to be against there.
Nugget still couldn't win that trial. Showed a bit of intent and still ran second. He's just a non-winner, mate. I agree with you wholeheartedly with Stapati. That barrier just makes it so tough. And huge gap from Mr. Brightside and another Will in that CF4. And I just don't think the others are that good or going that well in that race. They put a huge margin on the two. Mr. Brightside was lucky to win last week. But what a champion he is. So I'm with you. I'm laying Stapati. I think he's way too short from that barrier. I think he'll get back. And another horse that finds it hard to win, we can touch on Place to Carousel. Well, I'll touch on Place to Carousel in a moment, but you're keen as well, Trent.
Yeah, I am. So we're all aligning in the Blamey. I think Place to Carousel is the one you just kind of have to be on here. Yes, she kind of didn't really fire in the spring. I thought her Champion Stakes run wasn't all that bad behind Via Sustain. She was beaten 6, but like you said, that Randwick run, first run in Australia, she was right in the market that day to beat Via Sustain. The market had her going to a pretty high level. Slow tempo as well here, and she zipped home, which I think is going to probably be beneficial here because it doesn't look like there'll be that much speed on paper. But just how well she gets in at the weights, given her peak ratings, 53 kilos at the set weights and penalties. If she runs anything like her best, she's got these covered by a few lengths on the Racing and Sports ratings. Whether she gets back to that is the obvious query, but she's kind of one that you could mark of her best form. She's an even money shot, or she's no chance at all. So I'm leaning to the former, hopefully. And yeah, the price she is at the moment just has to be a bet for me. That
trial tells me she's back somewhere near her best, and she just ambled up to a couple of nice horses, as you mentioned. The third horse came out and won the other day. Yeah, I think she's here with intent off that 1,200 metre trial. I think she's here to run well. 53 kilos. Won't know herself. That's a brilliant bet for me. Place to Carousel, very confident. And I'm going to be saving on attrition here in a race that not many of these are going that good or know how to win. I could completely forgive that run of attrition last start. Way too far back. John Allen didn't look balanced for mine. Gets Bo Mertens on. I think that's a tick. Lower run race. Likes the distance. Likes Flemington. So completely forgiving, and drops 4 kilos off that run as well, and meets Poison Chalice and Just Folk better at the weight. So attrition, I'll be saving her, won't losing her, having a bet attrition, but pretty confident Place to Carousel is a great bet at that price. So we're all aligned. Very scary. It is scary. Could be an absolute fill up early for us. Let's get to the Group 1, Australian Guineas, another mile race. We should have a fair idea of how the track's playing here. What do you make of the speed in the Australian Guineas, Liam?
Fairly similar to the CSAs, the lead-up race. I think Stay Focused and Gold Rush Guru will be the main speed influences that you might find for Roche will push forward from barrier 11. And Seppel's just finding a perfect spot in behind the speed for mine.
Good. Yeah, there's a couple of other speed factors. Opening Address gets froggy on. Settles 7th in that lead-up, but I wouldn't be surprised if shows a bit more intent with Newitt on. Savagely, the New Zealand horse, led early in that New Zealand Group 1 last start behind Here to Shock before getting crossed, so has a bit of speed as well, won't be far away. Any other comments on the speed before we dissect the race, Trent?
No, I think that looks about right. Yeah, Savagely, Gold Rush Guru and Sepals probably look to get those trailing runs in behind, and they look to be set up nicely.
All right, sound like you're bullish on Seppels here, Liam?
Yeah, really keen. That CSA's win was just sensational. And of course, we've got that upward spiral, which you love seeing come into this race. Undefeated in 2025 so far, and just continues to get better and better and better from a ratings perspective. What's even better is the horse hasn't really seen clear daylight until late in those first 2 wins. And even last win in the CS Hayes was bundled up for a long time before it got clear running. You listen to Cliff Brown, and you know him as well as anyone, but he says he's got a great turn of foot, this horse, and it's good to see. And he'll need it because he's coming up against the likes of Angel Capital, who we already know has a terrific turn of foot. And if you go back and look at Point and Shoot's win last start at Randwick, we certainly know that he's got a terrific turn of foot. So I think those top 4 in the market, if we include the New Zealander Savagely as well, they'd be the 4 I'd be pretty keen to stick with, because I think there is a bit of a tail to this, but really keen to stick with Sepples. Has the best rating coming into this by just over a length on any of the other performed horses. And yes, they're 3-year-olds and we haven't seen the best of them yet, so something could go through the roof. But with Point and Shoot drawn down in barrier 1, stepped really slow last start, was 2 lengths off them. Won't want to do that from barrier 1 this time. It'll be in a world of hurt. And Angel Capital just appears a bit too short for me in the market at the moment, so really keen to stick with Sepples. And Ndola to be flashing late, but probably just going to have to get a bit too far back.
Yeah, Ndola was good in the CS Hayes. He ran some good last splits, but I like Sepples' last 200. Was still pulling away from it on the line. Probably had a softer run, Sepples. But 9 of these come through the CS Hayes, 4 through the Autumn Stakes. They were completely different run races. CS Hayes was really fast. It was 6.2 lengths faster than class benchmark at the 600, whereas Autumn Stakes was an absolute walk. They went 13.2 lengths slower. So completely different setups here coming to this. And that's probably why I can't get the favourite as short as Angel Capital, as short as it is in the market. Just off that, it doesn't tick the 1,600 metre box. He obviously ran in the Caulfield Guineas, and it was just a hopeless position by the track played there. But he just laid in behind broadsiding there. He didn't tick that 1,600 metre box. And off that slow run race, he's got a damaging turn of foot. But just if this is a bit faster runner, I still want to see him run the strong 1,600 metres before I can get him that short. Which form race are you leaning to, or are you going away from those 2 lead-ups, Trent?
Yeah, I'd probably be with the CS Hayes. Looking at the kind of historical ratings, it was a pretty solid CS Hayes. It was kind of his run to Seppo's run to 113 with Racing and Sports. For a bit of context, that's the same rating that Grunt ran in 2018, went on to win the Guineas. It's a little bit behind the likes of Riff Rocket, 115 last year. So that's kind of the level that we're looking at there. Whereas Angel Capital was a good winner. There's not much between them on our ratings, but the way they did it, like you said, was very different. Angel Capital ripped home in some big late splits, and those splits definitely suggested that he's up to winning this sort of race. And that's not saying anything. He's the favourite. But I do have a little bit of a query at 1,600 metres. He's also got a bigger gap between runs. The Guineas run was okay last time at Caulfield, but yeah, he hasn't really ticked that box yet. Whereas Seppo's, he's going to run it no worries at all when he gets that lovely draw. But I'm going to side with a little bit of different form, and I'm going to go with the New Zealander Savagely, who we've got rated 112. So that's pretty much basically bang in line with what Seppo's is rated, and Angel Capital as well. That was when he won the New Zealand 2000 Guineas. That was a fast tempo there as well. He ran a good time figure that day. Then dropped back to 1,400 metres Levin Classic, and that was a slow tempo. He still won, ran to 111, and then last start against the older horses, a little bit below his best, but he was hard in the market there. The market had him going to 116, so that's not the be-all and end-all, but if you plug that in and put him in as, he can get to 116 based on his profile, then he's looking more and more like a Guineas winner. So the New Zealanders probably what we've seen so far, haven't quite measured up here, but I think he's one of the better ones of them, and I like to draw for him as well. He gets every chance, and yeah, he's only had 1 run at a mile, and it was his best rating, so I'm keen to see him get back to a mile here, and I think he sets up nicely.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared. I went looking for different form. As I said, 9 through 1 lead up and 4 through the other. I did go looking. There was a Queenslander that I don't think is good enough, as good as some of these, Savor the Dream, but he's a bit of a chance just because he brings completely different form. And Savagle's the other one. As you mentioned, Liam, Point and Shoot, that win last start was unbelievable, but barrier 1, awful. Absolutely awful for Point and Shoot. I had him. I would have had Point and Shoot favourite if it wasn't for that draw. I think Sepples is the bet. I just think he ticks so many boxes as well. Right map, 1,600 metres should be no issue. I think it's the right lead up, and I am wary of Savagely. Anything to add?
That's it for me. Sepp was one of the best of the day.
Ooh, good. I like your confidence. Good luck to Cliff Brown there. He owns 50%, I think. So that'll be.
Wasn't willing to sell you 10% for a cheap share.
Well, yeah, no, I won't tell the story on here, but I'll tell you off there. That's it for the Australian Guineas. Good luck to those playing in the Group 1 there. Let's get to what caught my eye. Now, Sunday, Sale, this horse, you can get a graphic up. World's My Oyster. I backed this horse, believe it or not. This is why I've got it in the what caught my eye. But I should put myself in the Laybin because I didn't get the BSP. Over $300 Betfair starting price minus the commission. $300, $297.54 once you take out commission. Incredible performance. But the best toast, $93.70, 217.5% price advantage on Betfair. I backed it. I didn't get the $297 unfortunately, but it was even when you win, you lose. I was still filthy.
I've really missed your negativity, Tom. Like, we haven't had the pessimism on here for way too long.
I'm back.
So it's nice to have you back. Why on earth were you back in this runner?
Jumped out well.
Oh,
good jockey. It did. Jumped out well. Didn't come off the broad. Don't ask. Don't ask.
Was it double digits?
Closer. It was double digits. Yeah. Yeah. And a couple of people. I kind of got tipped this horse. Reece Goodwin backed it.
Jeez.
Oh, I knew he backed it too because he sent me a text straight after the race saying, "Did you watch that race?" And I sent him my screenshot of backing it, and then he sent his at Betfair. So he got about 220, I reckon. Yeah. A couple of guys, Shane Shirley got in as well.
I'm surprised it's paid this much.
I know.
All you Muppets taking the price instead of BSV.
We must have been the only ones to back it. Yeah, World's My Oyster. There you go. Huge price advantage on Betfair. If you're backing roughies yet again, do it on Betfair because just crazy. Now, Trent, over to you. I'm very excited by this because now that I'm going to be more regular on the show, I've missed a few, but we're going to have a little racing and sports segment and talk about some ratings. Talk to us about a horse through the Oakleigh Plate and what a win it was by Jimmystar last week.
Yeah, it was a huge win by Jimmy. He's always promised to put up a really big performance. He's run some big ratings in his time, but this was another level again in the Oakleigh Plate. So on the racing and sports ratings, he's run to a number of 121, which is a new peak. His best previous was 115. And you look at kind of the historical standards of an Oakleigh Plate, 121, that's only betted by 4 horses since the turn of the century. So you've got Snitzel and Lankan Rupee, 125, Weekend Hustler, 124, Fastnet Rock, 122. So that's some pretty good company. Some pretty good company that Jimmy's keeping there. So a little bit behind those, but he's in the ballpark there. And to run that kind of rating in an Oakleigh Plate and backed up by fast time and fast splits. So the adjusting for sectionals as well, you can kind of get him running 125 or thereabouts. So suggesting that, if he finds a really brutal tempo and he's ridden efficiently, can go even better. So there's everything's on the table for Jimmy going forward. He can win a Quokka, a Goodwood, a Stradbroke. He can win just about anything. Jimmy, he's very talented.
What do they do with him? I loved the setup last week, and Oakleigh Plate's one of my favourite races because even though the racing was largely uncompetitive because of the wind and jockeys holding up and slowly run races, you guaranteed a good tempo with an Oakleigh Plate. And 1200 first up looked a perfect setup for Jimmy, and I loved it. Where they're keeping him at sprint distances, keep him fresh off fast tempos. Is that where you'd go?
Yeah, I think that probably is the plan. Like, he's certainly proven over 1400 meters. Is like I said before, his best ratings previously were 1400 meters. Again, off fast tempos. That's what really suits him. He can run fast times and still reel off a big late 600. So, yeah, I think there's been a few bit of Quokka whispers happening around the RNS office that he could be headed west. And then I think Queensland would be a great option for him. He's got that 1300 meter Kingsford Smith, 1400 meter Stradbroke. That
1300 seems good.
1300 weight for age is a great opportunity for him. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of sparingly raced and then goes bang bang in Queensland.
Impressive win.
So from a sprinting perspective, that's that 121 that he's run. We look at the TJ Smith market. We've got Private Harry, Switzerland, Sunshine in Paris, growing empire there. So our sprinting stocks aren't terrific at the moment. I think it's fair to say.
We got Private Harry had 4 starts.
Yeah. What sort of ratings? This is a question without notice, so apologies for dropping this.
I thought you asked him off
air. You would have thought so.
Get searching. Come on.
But you might have. What did Switzerland run in the Coolmore sort of thing like?
So Switzerland's, I know that off the top of my head. So
Yeah.
that's all right. Switzerland's got
Good.
125 in the Coolmore, and again backed up by a huge time figure.
Yeah.
One of the fastest time figures I've seen in a Coolmore. So he's 125, but obviously well below that in a Lightning. A horse like Sunshine in Paris in the Champions Sprint at the end of the spring went 116, and that's one of the lower rating champion sprints that we've seen. So it doesn't necessarily work like that. You just plug a rating in, and that horse is therefore going to beat that other one. But that's the kind of level that we're talking about. So 121 is probably going to win you most sprints. If a horse like Switzerland doesn't really show up, or he's probably might even be whisked off to stud before then if he doesn't perform next start. So yeah, he's, like I said, everything's on the table for Jimmy. If he can kind of keep measuring up and keep finding the right scenario to run his race, then he can win pretty much anything, I think.
Is he going there?
Final one that you may not be able to answer, but Ka Ying Rising over in Hong Kong.
So he's rated 128, I believe, off the top of my head. So he's the world's best sprinter comfortably on the racing and sports ratings. He went to 1400 meters last start again. He was probably a little bit below his best. I think 1200's his trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's pushing that 130 mark close to thereabouts. So if he comes down for an Everest and runs his race, he'll probably take care of anything that we've got here. But that's the challenge as well, that you've got to come down here and do it. So it'll be interesting to see how far off his best he is, Ka Ying Rising.
Very quickly becoming my favourite segment of the show when we throw over to Trent.
Oh, it's knowledge of numbers. Good memory, Trent. Is Jimmy going to the Newmarket?
TJ?
Oh, TJ, sorry. Yeah.
No idea. Don't know where they're going. Just more getting a grasp on what the 121 means in the sprinting ranks of Australia.
Very interesting. All right, let's get to Randwick. Enough about the winners that have gone. Let's find some winners. Back to Randwick, Rail True. Hot weather leading in. Should be a drying track. I almost prefer it when it rains during the week a little bit, because they tend to overwater these tracks, especially with warm weather forecasts throughout the day. How have you found the track, Liam?
Yeah, well, it's exciting that we've got this great weather in Sydney leading into the autumn and these big days. I know. I should be touching wood, but you take the good when it comes. It's pretty good.
Correct.
So now a really nice track at Randwick. I'm expecting every horse to get their chances. Of course, you'd prefer to be just slightly on speed, but I feel like a broken record. We say this most times. We're racing on a true track up at Randwick with a good bit of sunshine during the week. So I think everything dictated to by tempo rather than track position.
Let's kick off with race 4, the Group 2 Skyline Stakes for the 2-year-old boys. Shaggy leads, you'd say?
Yeah, and it's got the perfect draw to lead now as well. You can understand, I think it was $3 in early market Shaggy before the barrier draw came out, and already into that $2.30 mark. So very understandable, gets that perfect lead and kick strategy, such as last start as well. I do think that $2.30 is justified, but what's not justified is this price on Rivellino we're getting at the moment. I think $7, we're getting $2.20, $2.30 a place. This guy's just produced 2 exceptional wins. The latest in the millennium when drew wide, sat wide, was still strong enough to kick over the top of him. Yes, J-Mac was on that start, and then it was only a fraction behind Shaggy in the ratings that day. I think we're talking a quarter of a length, and to see this sort of a discrepancy in the price, $2.30 versus $7, I'm absolutely really keen to find Rivellino in a 1x3 way. Really good chance to win, but I can't see Rivellino missing the top 3.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think Rivellino would be the way I play over Shaggy, but I do have a bet in the race, but I'll let you go first, Trent.
Yeah, I'm going to focus on that Piero Plate form.
Do you like the form?
I thought it's okay. So, looking at it historically, Shaggy's kind of run 106 there, which it's probably on the softer side for a Piero Plate, but I thought that he was well ridden to win that race. It was a solid tempo, but he got the most out of him. He was ridden very efficiently. And Comedy was back in the field there and hit the line well. So when we kind of look at our sectionals and get a little bit creative, there was probably only a couple of pounds, which is half a length or so between them if you adjust for the finishing burst of Comedy. And he was first up there. He was, I think he can probably improve off that. And I think getting to 1200 is really going to suit him potentially better than it will Shaggy, who's, he's going to be the one to catch again. But I think with that improvement to come and, those sectionals last time. I think Comedy can improve certainly and can turn the tables.
I think Shaggy's too short. You've got Rail 4 at Randwick over 1100. Now it's back to the true. The Canberra, it's actually harder to lead at 1200. I agree with you. I think the others might have a bit more improvement. So I've got Shaggy. Hard to lay with confidence a horse like Shaggy is undefeated and leads, but I just think he's under the odds. I've found, I don't know who's riding yet, number 10, Nielsen Park. Now, had some decent jump outs in Victoria. Went around at Flemington recently in a jump out and did okay. It was a pretty soft piece of work, but I didn't mind his trial leading in Sydney way of going. They've brought him up here for a reason. I think he'll be running in some nice 2-year-old races if he can get in them. He needs to win this. He's a huge price, $50. I don't think the 2-year-olds are much chop at the moment this season. I don't think they're very good, and we don't know how good this guy is. So at $51, I thought it was a pretty obvious bet, to be honest. From Good Barrier, just has no jockey on him at the moment. So he's not nominated or accepted anywhere else. So I assume he's running here, but not sure who rides. But at $50, I'll make him a bet there. Number 10, Nielsen Park. Let's go to the fillies. Group 2, Sweat Embrace, 1,200 metres, same race for the girls. You can kick things off, Liam.
Yeah, interestingly, I don't know if there's a stack of speed in a race that normally would have a lot of speed. So I think you've got Open Secret finally draws back on the rail here, which is a massive improvement from the Millennium last start. I think drew out close to 15. And then Bella Zane's barrier 3 as well. So I think the two of them get to lead fairly easily on their own. So they have to be the first port of call for me. And then once you actually have a look at Open Secret's race there in the Millennium, stuck on incredibly well given how wide it was the whole way. It was 5 wide the trip, and then gets this inside draw, gets to save so much more energy for that last burst. Bella Zane, I think, is going to be extraordinarily hard to beat. But Open Secret's a $20 shot at the moment, 22 on the exchange. Bella Zane's at 440 mark. So I think the each way bet for Open Secret is just a must-have bet for me. And there's a horse called Inkaruna, number 4, which has the highest rating win of anyone in the race. It's a bit of an ugly win. And of course, all of these being so unexposed, you only have put so much credence in the rating so far. But it's difficult to rate a horse $20 plus when you're coming in off the highest rating. So it'll be a very small bet in Karuna for me, but main play would be Open Secret each way.
Trent?
Yeah, I found this way too tough, to be honest. I don't think any of them are particularly good. Like if you're talking about a Golden Slipper, I don't think any of these fillies will be featuring prominently in that kind of race. There's a handful of them that are within a couple of pounds, so within half a length or so on racing and sports stuff, that it'll just probably come down to luck in running. And I couldn't really, find any of the way. Snitzel Miss was good on debut. That work form was solid in the Blue Diamond, which again I don't think is much chop, but for this level it's probably pretty solid. Mimo through the Magic Millions, again a low rating Magic Millions historically, but it's still probably solid form for something like this. But
the forms kept stacking up, that OLA Memo form. Everyone was trashing it early in the first race they ran with Bell Mercy, and it just kept stacking up.
Well, I guess the thing is it can rate poorly historically, and that's what I'm looking at. But if you're racing against the same level of horses and the 2-year-old crop aren't that good, then it doesn't actually matter who you're racing against, because you can run low ratings and still win if you're racing against lower horses. So, yeah, I just found it too tough to play in this race, to be honest. It's going to be one that's straight through to the keeper for me.
Yeah. If Rivellino wins the race prior, you're giving Within the Law a bit of a promotion there, running a really dashing second to that.
I've got Within the Law second favourite as is. I think it's a very good horse. Drawn out again, but certainly didn't stop at running a terrific race last start. So absolutely nothing against Within the Law.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of that Millennium race. You mentioned Open Secret there. Started $14 in that price tag, which I was pretty bullish in the Millennium. 4 wide on speed, started at $3.60. So I think if you do like Open Secret, you got to like price tag as well. I probably lean the way of number 5, Bella Zane, though. Bayvok, frank that form. I think this horse is kind of the profile I'm looking for now, because lightly raced, come back a better horse off that spell. So Bella Zane probably on top for me there, but no huge interest. Need to do a bit more work there. Let's head to the Guy Walter, Group 2 for the mares. 1,400 metre race, usually a fantastic race. Trent, we'll start with you. Amelia's Jewel, horse of very much interest. J-Mac riding and not riding Alencia, which is that a signal of intent or anything there?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Alencia has been a little bit below her best in her past few starts. The first up run in that awful expressway, whatever it was, 1,200 metres, that was run at one of the slowest time figures I've ever seen.
Liam's an athlete; he could have kept up there.
Yeah, he would have been at a jog, I reckon. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that. It is interesting that McDonald goes on to Amelia's Jewel for the first time. It's certainly a positive here, and she's the horse to beat. She didn't win last preparation, still winless in Sydney, but she ran some good ratings. Like the run, she kept getting better, and I thought out to a mile she got better as well. So she ended up running second in the Empire Rose, to a tissue. She's run 117 there, and then the Champions Mile as well, 119 when a close up. So those ratings win you pretty much any Guy Walter going back in history. But first up, she was a little bit below that. Yeah, I couldn't really talk you in or out of having a bet on her. She just seems like the default favourite, but no real edge in it.
I agree. I hate backing default favourites, and she does look that default favourite. I thought she was playing first up in the Tramway last campaign. Royal Patronage, kind of a stayer, got over Amelia's Jewel there. Which way heading, Liam?
I just think it's such a messy race. There's just no, like you say, that Espresso was run at such a slow tempo. They're not going to go any quicker here. There's no leader in the race. This is a Group 2 worth, 300k. It's quite incredible that I think where I would normally go to here is just back the smartest and best jockey, particularly if on the best horse. And J-Max on Amelia Jewel. So I don't think there's any reason why this horse shouldn't be favourite, because he'll sum the race up better than anyone else. I will say if Tommy Berry had been on Alencia, I might have been keen. He's got form in the past of coming wide, and if the tempo is not fast enough, then you're taking it into his own hands and going fast. But I just don't have the same confidence as the race lies. Alsafina, if this was second up, would have been really keen on the WA horse, but might just be coming up a touch early. Not keen to get involved in this race. If Amelia's Jewel was $3 plus, probably would just get sucked in by J-Mac and best horse. But as it is, I just hate the setup on the lack of pace.
Who does lead? Because I think that if we can find the leader, that gives you a good, you could back the leader here if you knew who the leader was. Yeah,
I'll touch on this later with a couple of other races, but I won't be touching pre-play here. But in play, once they go live, I'll be sitting on BetAngel waiting to see who the leader is, and if it's any sort of horse with a decent amount of money up there, I'll be happy to play there rather than trying to jump in and guess pre-race.
Could it be Alsafina first up, just lobbing there? I don't know. Fascinating. Do you have any opinion as to who could lead this race?
Maybe a horse like Osbred Flirt. It's kind of a lot of them that could maybe take it up a first up as well, which only complicates things further.
Correct.
I think it'll more come down to not necessarily who's leading, that will be beneficial, but who's got the best turn of foot. We saw in some of these races that it's like Fangirl beating V Sistina the other day. If they go slowly, but she's able to be close enough there and she can reel off a faster last 400 metres, then that's key. Alsafina does have a good turn of foot. That race she won at Moonee Valley, a Group 2 level last preparation, that was a slow tempo and she really ripped home in good splits. So if she's close enough, she's one that can certainly win. But again, there's no fat in the price at $4. If she was $6, maybe you're sort of getting interested. But they kind of all seem too short to me, to be honest. So it'll be a watch and play sort of race on Betfair. Yeah,
it's a bit of a messy day, especially here. We touched on the next couple of races where we've got a couple of short price favourites. I'm keen to find out whether they're bets from these two experts next to me. The Surround Stakes, Group 1, 1,400 metres, won by Tropical Squall last year, Sunshine in Paris the year prior. Obviously made famous, or probably the most famous running of this race was in 2015, where first Seal beat Winx by a big margin, which was interesting. Waller looks set to dominate this race. He's got the short price favourite. He's got 4 others engaged. Firstly, Liam, how is the race going to be run?
Yeah, you'd think Lady of Camelot to find the front. I think Lilac will be up there as well. They're coming up from barriers 5 and 4, so I don't think they'll try and dig each other up too much, especially with Lady Camelot not having ticked that 1,400 metre box yet. I don't know if they'll want to go hell for leather, but Lady Shenandoah just takes the perfect sit from barrier 3. J-Mac gets back on board. I think if you look at how they ran the lead-up race, I think if they were ever going to beat Lady Shenandoah, it was going to be in that race, and they couldn't. And she was eased down coming into the line. So very hard to beat there. Most of my interest is just trying to find out who's running second and third in this race.
Yeah, it's a bit like that.
I'm not keen to jump into $1.65 favourite. But those that have filled the placings, in my opinion, that come from either Lazura, Amelita, and More Territories, I think they're the ones that represent value. That the light finger is obviously the main lead-up race here. And it was Amelita who ran the fastest splits late, even faster than Lady Shenandoah. Having said that, obviously Lady Shenandoah was eased up late. But Amelita, the one who looks to really get out to the 1,400 metres well. And More Territories, which I touched on really briefly, was fantastic last prep rate, running big ratings, but not getting results, running your thirds, your seconds, thirds and fourths, but running really good ratings, whereas went to a bit of a wider meeting last start and absolutely bolted in. So it was really good to see More Territories get that win and get that taste for victory. So I think we'll be running on really well. More Victories is 50 to 1 and Amelita 40 to 1. So we're getting $10 plus the place on those. I'd rather play those plays rather than go for the favourite the win.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. J-Mac's just got to get off the fence from 3.
J-Mac does what he wants, mate. He'll sit behind the leader, I imagine.
And you know what happens. They'll follow J-Mac into the race. So if they'll just let him be wherever and try and get his back because he's a short price favourite. I went looking similar to you. I got Lady Shenandoah clearly favourite. That trial before the first up run was outstanding. I think she's an absolute star. Do I want to dive into $1.60, $1.65? Probably not, but I think she'll win. I went looking for Dominetta. I think she can roll forward from barrier or from a wide barrier. Just went looking for the different form because out of these, as you said, come through the light fingers, Liam. Different form, rolls forward. I think the stable is starting to get a bit better. They had a really bad patch. And just will be in front of a lot of these in run. So just added a bit of interest at a huge price there for me to place. Trent?
Yeah, I'm with Clancy here. I thought he'd kind of copied and pasted off the spreadsheet that he's taken.
It's got your ratings.
Said, Tommy, can you throw to me before Trent?
But yeah, like you said, Lady Shenandoah is clearly the horse to beat. So she ran a Racing and Sports rating of 115 first up, which is even better than her Flight Stakes win marginally. And looking at a typical Surround Stakes, we touched on First Seal beating Winks before. So that's the highest rating Surround Stakes winner that we've got on our database. And it was 116. So Lady Shenandoah was run £1 below that first up, with improvement to come getting to 1,400 metres. So
better horse than First Seal, in my opinion.
Potentially.
Winks.
Yeah. No, not Winks.
Yet, maybe.
Yeah, she'll have to go up a fair bit to get to the mighty mare. But yeah, so that's the kind of level that we're talking about here. But like Lance, I thought that Amelita was one of the better runs in that light fingers first up. So looking at the sectionals and the markups that we can give her. So obviously Lady Shenandoah's the time rating's clearly the highest for her, but kind of the figures that we can get by extrapolating those sectionals, Amelita and Lady of Camelot are basically tied for second. So if you kind of take that in line that Amelita was finishing fast, she can get within, at least to the Lady of Camelot kind of level who finished second. So with that run under the belt, I think she can really improve. She's going to be back again, but I think 40 to 1 or thereabouts is a big price. And the other one, like Lance, is More Territories. Took on the older horses in benchmark 78 company first up, but ran a good time as well and a good rating, ran to 107 there. She's kind of run in some of these fillies lead ups, group level last time in as well, and put up some decent numbers against the likes of, Autumn Glow, Manal, solid form that they're racing against these again. And I think, she can improve again and maybe settle a little bit closer from the inside draw as well. But yeah, she can reel off a big split as well. And, she's going to be 50s plus on the day. So that's the two that I'd be playing in, probably a 1x3 sort of basis.
There'll be a nice little symmetry with those Wink Silks running into second here, won't there, for that
yes,
Amelita?
True. Very true.
Yeah.
What do you make of the jockey bookings? Reece Jones sticks with Amelita. I found that the bookings of Waller's runners interesting. Reece Jones obviously rode Amelita first up in that light fingers. You got Nashville Willer on the stablemate. DeClichy Boulevard, who I think is a nice horse. And then you got Tommy Berry on Lazura as well. Do you read anything into those bookings?
I do a little bit. So the Waller kind of hierarchy of jockeys is fairly established. Whatever J-Max on is probably going to be your favourite. And then, you've got Berry, Collett, and then kind of into the younger guys, like a Reece Jones sort of thing. So it probably does suggest that Amelita's down the pecking order, but then again, the market's suggesting that as well. She is one of the longer priced runners of his group. So I think it's not telling us anything that we don't already know from the market.
Yep, good shout. I want to ask you Waller second up, short price favourite. So I've seen this movie before. We got this one in Lady Shenandoah. We moved to the Verry Elleegant Stakes Group 1 1600 metre race where we've got another short price Waller second up, Liam. Scares me to death.
Oh, yeah, as it should. Jolie Star is one that
Yes.
I will never stop having nightmares about. You get really
Via
sucked in.
Sustina last campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
Flop second up.
Especially, I think, with bigger targets in mind as well. Definitely to be wary of. Last prep or over the spring, I was more surprised about how well they were going first up rather than the regression second up. He was just really had his horses going to the races ready to go first up, which is somewhat strange compared to the last few years. But Via Sustina is a very interesting conversation here because you're getting $2 and for one of an absolute star horse, well, probably the best horse in the country.
Rated the best horse in the world. Trent all up there.
On peak performance, yeah, we've got her the best horse in the world, Oakleigh Plate 132, which is it's a bit of an outlier potentially, but it is it's the best rating that any horse in training has run at the moment. So
incredible.
It'd be interesting. I don't think anyone's treating Via Sustina 1600 on Saturday as a $1.95 favourite. Are we absolutely smoking this? I think the top three in the market all have really solid credentials to be favourite for this race. I think Fangirl and Chaewolf are going every bit as good to the mile. I think if we were talking 2,000, then that $1.95 is a gift for Via Sustina. But yeah, over the 1600, it makes it a really interesting race. I think the Apollo Stakes lead up went to plan for a lot of people. I think.
Does Lindemann lead again here in terms of the map? Went very slow, close to 10 lengths slower than class benchmark.
Yeah, I think I had 11 lengths slow to the 800.
Just no speed in these feature races.
Well, especially when they got bigger targets in mind, the big guns. I think that's it. Whereas Fangirl, and to a degree, I think even Chaewolf here might be thinking this is more of a semi-grand final to, It's a $1 million Group 1. So I think that's a grand final in most people's languages. So yes, Lindemann going forward with Golden Path once again, I think. Arapaho draws really nicely to sit really close. And of the top three, I think the market's pretty much got it bang on. I'll be laying Sustina early at the $2, not to hold on to that liability. I just think naturally she'll drift out closer to the $2.25, $2.30 range. I think that's about where she should be. I can't possibly back any of those top three. I think they're just right in the market. And, what are we, 118% at the moment? So no point jumping in there when we know we'll be getting 100% come jump time. Arapaho's $151 to win. I don't think any chance of winning. But $15 to run top three, sitting really close off that. If
Arapaho wins and Bjorn Baker notches this up with Arapaho, that'd be...
Well, there'll be some questions asked. But to run top three, I think, is a really solid bet at that $15 mark currently. And the other one that I won't be playing pre-race, but really interested at a big price is Land Legend. I will have something small on as they jump if they show some intent and go to the front and try and put some speed into this race. Has been really nice trials this time in. Has gone really well first up in the past. And yeah, with that lack of speed, I think they might be able to just steal this a little bit and get a bit of confidence back. So staying away from those three big guns, I think the winner will come from one of them, obviously, as the market suggests. But Arapaho, the place, and Land Legend, if they lead, I'll have a little bit in play.
All the talk heading into that Apollo was that Chaewolf needed to run, wasn't there to win. If I think Joe Pride said if they can't beat him today, they'll never beat him. He was good late. I thought Via Sustina was going a little bit better on the line, but there's natural improvement that suggests that he's right in the mix. They went, as we said, they went really slowly in that Apollo, Trent. Fangirl probably the best suited given she has the fastest turn of foot. Is that how do you see this race being run and who does it suit, I guess? Yeah,
so I ended up backing Fangirl first up in the Apollo just because she does have the best turn of foot in the race.
Well found.
And she was well backed late as well. She came in quite a bit. I think she ended up starting around 370 or so.
She was firm considering there was not much talk about her.
No, she was very firm late. And she's probably a backable price again if she's a little bit shorter than last time, but that's to be expected. She did win, and it just sets up very similarly for her again. I like the fact that she's also drawn inside Via Sustina and Chaewolf. It means that she may actually be able to just lob in front of them just naturally from the barriers. 1600 meters again, no problem. We've got her peak rating over the Randwick Mile, 125. She ran 123 first up in the Apollo. So, she's back pretty much at her best first up. 1600 meters dry track. If she's close enough and is able to hold them off with her turn of foot, then I think she can win again. I thought they were all pass marks. Via Sistina and Chair Wolf were absolutely bang on track. If Fangirl's going to beat them again, it's going to be here. But it wouldn't surprise me if one of the other ones improved enough to turn the tables. And again, Lindemann can probably stick on for a top 3 finish again. But yeah, the market's it knows exactly what it's doing with these horses. I think there's not much of a huge edge. Sistina is your default favourite because she can go that huge number. Fangirl's your second favourite because she won the lead up, and Chairwolf's your third favourite because he's the big miler that closed off well fresh. So yeah, Fangirl would be the one that I'd be interested in, but it looks pretty cut and dry, I think, this race.
Yeah, Vesistina's obviously going to stay relatively firm. J-Mac on got that SP anchor as well, so hard to see Vesistina drifting huge amounts, and probably if it does get out too much, there's concerns there. But on top for me, do I want to dive in Vesistina second up? Probably not the grand final. No, others could probably have that price. There you go. So that's Randwick covered. Let's move on to the Hamburger, Liam. And you and I are aligning here, which I'm scared about, but it also fills me with joy and happiness and confidence. Talk to me about it.
Well, you know something's definitely going wrong when you're full of joy and happiness. But
can't possibly win.
As discussed, we'll go to the Blamey with Plus the Carousel. Really, it stands out as a great each way bet of the weekend. And Stapati, you look at the SP profile of this horse, and it's not a $4.40 favourite, especially with the way it runs its races. So that'll be my Hamburger for the week. Very similar to yours by the look.
Yes, a family meal deal. 2 hamburgers with the lots. Place the Carousel. On top for me, looks a lovely bet, $657 at the moment. Stapati way too short from the draw. Trent?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the surround, and the main bet that I want to have is Amelita there. It's, you've got the $1.60 favourite there, so kind of on an each way basis, Amelita. And I think Lady of Camelot's the hole in that market. I'm really not convinced her at 1,400 metres, and I don't think she's improved from her 2-year-old season. She's really just held her ratings. She also had a fitness edge on a few of those first up. She had the Queensland campaign, and I thought she had every chance there and was beaten. So, like I said, I thought the sectionals of Amelita suggested that she was as good of Lady of Camelot on the day, and I think she'll make further improvements. So that's the way I'd be playing. I think Lady of Camelot's too short.
Little place Hamburger.
Yeah, I like that.
Can we do that?
Whenever it comes off, we can do it.
Heavily encouraged.
That's like a cheeseburger. Love it. Lady of Camelot, the place. The lay there from Trent. Best bets, Trent. While you're going, continue.
Yeah, heading down to Flemington, race 5, number 2, Clean Energy resumes here. Gaywaters Adrian Bott stable. Speaking of Lady Shenandoah, we've got this horse, this undefeated filly, a full sister to Sunlight, who beat Lady Shenandoah in Queensland at listed level before a spell. Ran a really good time figure that day, ran a good rating, a rating that sits her very comfortably on top of these. Had a few trials to prepare. I think if she's anywhere near wound up, I think she's going to be taking care of a fairly even lot. So she's been heavily backed already early, and I think that's going to continue.
What do you think of the trial?
I haven't watched it.
I didn't love it, but
okay, well there you go.
So here you go. The money suggests she's going well, so that's Clean Energy there for Trent. Glenn?
Yeah, Rivellino 1 by 3. Randwick race 4, I think, is a sensational bet, especially take this early price. I don't think that horse will be starting close to $7. And Cliff Brown's Sepples in the Australian Guineas in the Group 1, really keen at the $6 mark.
Go, you good thing. I found it a very tough day. There's a lot of shorties that I wasn't keen to be against, and they're very scary, but I'm not backing them either. I'm just keen to play in that race at Flemington that we touched on, the Blamey. I think it's an awful race. I think if Place the Carousel turns up, it wins, and I'll be backing attrition as well there. So hopefully we can have a good day. Good luck to everyone out there. Anything else to add, guys? No, you're going to be on track, Trent?
I will be.
You'll be there for Racing Sports?
Yep, absolutely. The race 2 at Flemington is the Racing and Sports handicap over 2,000 metres, so I'll be out there presenting.
What does it get us?
Time-honoured.
Time-honoured.
What does it get us? Do we get a spot in a box or anything? Or
well, I don't know, maybe.
Committee room, Liam?
Come by and see what we can do.
You'll be in there Friday night at Moonee Valley, I imagine, so you just roll straight in on Saturday.
Are you coming tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Good. Hopefully, please send us some winners for Moonee Valley Friday night, because we're going to be on track, Liam and I, and a few guys from Betfair. So that'll be a good night. Thanks for joining us on Layback with Betfair. Looking forward to chatting again next week.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.